We're live.
Oh, hey, Jeff, how are you today?
I'm cold, Deb.
Well,
Yeah,
you are in Connecticut, so.
I am in Connecticut. It's 19 now.
Oh,
That's
wow.
see
Oh,
your breath.
wow.
Even
That is
inside,
cold.
you see your breath. That's when you know. That's when
I
you know.
think we reached 28 last night, and people here are just losing their minds.
Oh, in
So,
Florida, because yeah, that's
yeah,
like them's fighting words, man. You just got to shut the whole world down. You
that's
know.
right. That's exactly right. So hey,
So you know what else is cold?
what's cold?
Sales. Sales is
Oh,
cold.
yeah. It's so interesting. A big part of our show is about ragging on marketing. It really is because as time goes by, so few things that matter really change. And we can say the exact same thing about sales. I was talking to a good friend yesterday, and he works for a company that has a complex sales cycle, at least 12 months. It's also an evangelical sell in that they're having to educate the client around a solution they did not know existed. And so this guy's very experienced in big time sales. And he said, Deb, he said, I just took a look at what they were doing. And, 5 months into educating the customer, they haven't even qualified the customer yet. So he said, I just went in and said, look, there's got to be a different way to do this. We're wasting clients' time. We're wasting our time. He said, what if we got to power in the first meeting, clearly understood what the problem was, and said, we have a solution that does this. Would you like to explore that? And at first, the company went, oh, that's never going to work. Guess what? That is their go to market for 2026. So, talk about a swing and a miss when it comes to understanding the customer and also just being caught up in this inside out perception of what should be happening in sales. And we see that every day.
We absolutely do. So, and this whole time, if sales was checking into our forecast, like, they're Jeff and Deb again. They're ragging on marketing today. They're like, oh shit, they're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about us.
They're
You know,
talking about us today.
yeah,
Yeah.
us. Like, all right, I guess I got to pay attention now. Like, what else? What else are they going to say? Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you and I both grew up in the selling environment, and we've been taught different sales processes over the years. And really, the whole point of a sales process was to help below average and average salespeople sell better and more consistently so the company could forecast better. But great salespeople did exactly what you were talking about instinctively, always have, always will, because they really do make it about the customer. They listen, they ask questions, they seek to understand. And they also know that it's not a relationship of one. They're not lazy, they put
That's
the work.
right. That's exactly right. And Jeff, I'm a big fan of just blowing up corporate America. I think we've gotten to a place now in many organizations in sales and marketing. That's that's where we'll focus for right now, where they have so much legacy shit in the way they can't even think about what the customer really does want and how they should be interacting with the customer. It's about the forecast. It's about putting this down. It's about taking that step. But nobody really is standing back and saying, can we be agile as our customers change, as they change in what they want from us and how they want to interact with us? Can we also change? And I don't see that kind of agility, especially in large organizations, baked into anyone's sales process.
No, and I was telling you before we teed the show, I was at an AI conference this weekend, and I met one of the heads of product engineering from Anthropic, who produces Claude, and I was sharing with him that I'm such a proud user of the platform, and he's thanked me, but then he's like, "What can we do better? Please tell me, what." And so genuine and so sincere. I love that. And here they are, a tremendously successful company, and they're putting the customer first. They want to know, and we do see good companies do that. They really do want to know what the customers want, and the ones that build their companies and their sales processes around the customer actually do better. Of course, we came out with the loop in 2015 to kind of express this. That it should be, when you talk about blowing up the whole company, it really is about getting the entire company to focus on the customer, not just build your systems and your little tribes and your little org charts, but figuring out how you're going to optimize that customer experience.
We see two types of organizations. Organizations like Anthropic, which are doing very well, and they have people who care about the customer experience. And, for a lot of organizations, the last 2 years for sales has been tough. We do a lot of fintech. We work with a lot of technology companies, and for a lot of them, it's been a tough 2 years. I've observed in those last 2 years that the tougher things get, the less they focus on the customer and the more they focus on internal processes. And so, again, I don't see agility in sales organizations that I think is required to be successful today. This is a problem across corporate America because the world that we live in is going so much faster, and the change isn't just there's a sea of change and then it levels out. It's change, change, change. And so being able to be agile from an organizational perspective in responding to changes in the customer is something that we don't see. And you're right, Jeff. We see this with really great individual salespeople. They know how to do this intuitively. They know how to get to power. They know how to create value, and they know how to pivot. But how do you do that in a big sales organization? That's really the question.
I was thinking when you were talking about agility, I was thinking about a new phrase, organizational couch potato.
I like that phrase, and we see that a lot, don't we?
Right. And so I started thinking about it, and as you were talking about how do you get more agile? Well, how do we get more agile at home when we're couch potatoes? We get off our ass, we move, we start to walk, we change our routine, we develop new habits, right? I think, IBM came up with that book, right, in the 90s, How Do You Make an Elephant Dance? And I think it's the same principle, right? To get a company to move, you start taking a bunch of small steps. It's not about trying to steer the tanker all at once. You make a series of small adjustments. I think that starts with empowerment. Instead of trying to engineer or re-engineer the perfect new process around the customer, give sales the tools and the permission to break the shackles, to try different things, to build these relationships, to see what happens. Much like the example that you all opened up with, where he started with an evangelical educational sell. Tell salespeople, look, go try different things. The only rule is you have to put the customer first. Whatever you're doing, put the customer first. Come back, share some feedback.
That customer first thing, we've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
And it starts at the top.
It does.
And how often do we go into an organization, and even marketing who should be the experts on the customer, are being forced to focus product. And so the other thing that's happening, and this is the point that I want to make sure that we cover, is that, again, this new world that we're living in, AI is inspiring change and empowerment at an individual level, the likes of which we have never seen in recorded history. I think we can all agree to that. I think that organizational models have to reflect that. I think right now it's the smaller companies, it's the entrepreneurs who don't have all of this massive structure in the way, who are figuring this out first, who can pivot quickly, who can be more agile. But again, you take a big selling machine, and how do you ensure that selling organization is going to be relevant in the world of AI, meaning quick changes to adapt to the customer?
Well, you're right, and AI can be a great equalizer because it's been well established even before AI that our customers are significantly down through their buyer's journey before they even want to connect, and they're even further now. And they can get their answers through search, through an LLM. So as a salesperson, you're at an increasingly disadvantage that your prospect or customer actually knows more about your products and services than you do. So if you focus in your organization about helping AI improve your knowledge management and your sharing, so that salespeople can have the right tool at the right time and be armed, not just to have the knowledge, but to use it in a way that serves that customer in the best way. It's really not about being the smartest person. It's about helping that customer get the information they need so they can become.
Well, and also empowering the salesperson to have that kind of agility without having a massive machine getting in their way that is no longer relevant to how customers want to buy from you any longer, right? That's really the big issue. Years ago, we started the company, 2007, you started it and I remember I wrote an article, it was probably 2010, and it was called Follow the Bouncing Customer. And it was from a sales perspective. And it was about, okay, before the internet, the salespeople were all that. If you wanted to know something, if you wanted to find anything out about the company, you actually had to engage with sales. I remember many times running a sales team and having to come out and do these presentations. Here's our basic capabilities. Here's what we're all about, doing a bake-off, and then, taking it from there. Then came the internet, so that our office, our calling room was actually online. And salespeople were like, oh, okay, so now they can get information online, right? And then we came into this entire digital world where customers were getting, to your point, so much more information online. And so the role of the salesperson changed, and it continues to evolve. So that now the change through digital is so much more rapid because of AI. We were talking a couple of episodes ago about Google search, right? And how, at least even in our company, we're getting substantial pipeline now, not from Google search, but when people go to ChatGPT and say, I'm looking for a company that does digital marketing, blah, 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 and up we pop, right? So where customers are going to get their information, how they consume that information, how they want that information continues to change. And the role of both sales and marketing in that dynamic continues to evolve. Yet we still see these massive sales and marketing organizations that continue to operate like they're in 1990. And that was a really long time ago.
And they're wondering why they're struggling to hit their numbers. I mean, look, even in the best of times, and we've seen between Gerhardt's numbers and SBI and all these companies that publish. I mean, sales organizations in any given year, if they hit 50% quota, it would be a lot. So sales for many, many years. And it's really quite fascinating. You and I have talked about this endlessly, where sales isn't held accountable for its number. It is in the sense of, okay, salespeople don't meet a quota, then they get fired and the org turns over. But we never see the percentage of revenue for sales budget change year to year like we do with marketing. Marketing is always under attack. Sales budget stays constant. And it can still today, a math game. Okay, Deb, well, we have to hit this number, so we're going to hire 50 reps. We'll give them a quota of 2 million. We know only half of them will make it. And then we'll just turn them over and we'll convert them to house accounts. And then we figure out our attrition number. And of course, none of these metrics have anything to do with the customer at all.
Right.
And they're still not changing the process.
Right.
And we've also seen this other trend over the last couple of years where e-commerce is not for B2C anymore. We're seeing more and more B2B companies adopt commerce. Why? Because that's how customers want to buy. They
exactly.
To talk to a salesperson ever at all. And then when you add AI into this, because now, as you know, you can start buying shit through ChatGPT. So you don't even have to go to Amazon. Okay, so if a person is not going to come to your site at all and can buy something without talking to anybody ever, do you even need a sales team?
Right, exactly. And when you do need that sales people, that sales organization, what is their role? What is their role? What is it that they should be doing? So I just think that many organizations continue to have this bloated legacy view of what and how a sales organization should act and perform. And in the world of AI, and again, constant change, never-ending appetite of the customer also changing, you have to have that kind of agility built into the sales organization. Now, let's talk about a few minutes around how AI has really helped sales organizations. And we've seen a lot of great use cases.
Tremendous use cases.
So let's share a couple of use cases around how
Number
AI
one,
has
just,
helped sales.
Deep research on your customers and prospects.
Remember how we used to struggle over that? Who are they? What do they do? What are they up to these days? And you go, blip, blip, there it is right there. 3
last
seconds.
10 years of 10K reports.
Yeah.
Get a company outlook, industry outlook, all in 20 minutes.
Yes.
And not just an outlook, but then marry that with your company, giving you the right talking points.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can send out a much more relevant, engaging email.
Absolutely.
Writing, SOW writing, personalized email, AI prospecting.
And let's talk about AI prospecting for a minute, because I know that captures a lot of interest, as it should. For example, we know, working with marketers for years and years, that whatever marketing does to produce a lead that goes over to sales, whatever you want to call that, right? 90% of the time, 95% of the time, it is not followed up on in the most effective manner. Imagine if you could just affect that one thing by even 5%. What would that look like?
Absolutely, because there's the gaps, or when people are offline at night, off hours. AI doesn't sleep; it's running constantly.
Well, and salespeople, even if they get a qualified lead, the follow up on that lead is never optimal.
It's not optimal, and it's not fast enough.
That's exactly right.
Very few companies get to a lead in 2 minutes of it being qualified or form submission. It's usually anywhere from a day to a week.
A day to a week, yeah, maybe. And if it's the end of the quarter, it could be 2 weeks, right? So what, and we've seen AI that comes in and acts like a business development rep and has that immediate conversation, is able to gather more information in a very, very intelligent way. And then, if the magic thing happens, whatever you decide in your algorithm that needs to be, then a flashing alert can go to the sales, because sales is going to believe that, even though they didn't believe it was a true lead for marketing.
Yeah, agreed. But other use cases besides the scoring itself, Deb, because
oh my God, Jeff,
scoring's been manual.
2025, and we still see big ass customers who do not do lead scoring, and it's in their technology stack.
It's right there. Don't even turn it on. And but when we first started using lead scoring and there wasn't any better alternative, we manually assigned points to things, and it worked for a while until it didn't really.
It was better than nothing. It was way better than nothing.
But now you don't even need to come up with any kind of scale. AI will just analyze hundreds of variables across different spectrums
and do mathematically correct predictive scoring.
Yes.
Yes.
But we're seeing it in the copywriting too, Deb, when we're using AI to write the communications for sales and marketing. Every customer we've done it with, significantly higher open rates and click-through rates and response. And for the simple reason, every single word is personalized to the customer. And even the best marketers in the world, they don't have the time or the ability to write like that.
Right.
Even with nurturing. We have, of course, endless debates. Well, do we send it out every 2 days? No, once a week. No, once a month. And then let's build branches, and then we spend hours building all these different programs. Well, now AI can say, well, you know what? Deb just was all active on the website. I'm going to send her another email today because I think that's the right thing to do. Almost no marketer would ever think to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, I don't want to bother them. That's going to say.
Right.
So AI is just intelligently looking at this data. But when we say this, of course, it's human plus AI. We're not saying AI should take over the world. And since this conversation is relative to sales, while the role of sales should be questioned, the same way that the role of marketing is being questioned, we have to be agile. We have to learn how to work with AI to have better engagement, which ultimately is what our customers want. Like, can't y'all just figure me out? Why can't you guys operate like Netflix, or Amazon, and give me what I want?
When I want it, how I want it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So,
we began the conversation talking about the sales process. And I, have what I like to think about is how still a lot of legacy thinking that doesn't fit into the world today. A lot of sales organizations are not built for speed and agility, can't pivot in the way that the world requires for that today. I think we all agree to that. That's going to be a difficult nut to crack. Plus, we've also seen some really great uses of AI that come in and fix spots of the sales process, right? Especially in that early prospecting phase. That's where we've seen some of the most success. But I think that sales, like marketing, really has to step back and reimagine what a sales process is and should be in the age of AI and in the age of constant change and in the age of the customer. And I see few organizations taking that step.
Yeah, so I think, for today, because we could probably talk about this topic for a full day, but yeah, sales is supposed to sell. And forecasting obviously is supposed to give us visibility into that selling. But if you truly want to sell, focus on the customer, change your behavior, get off the couch, and take that first step.
That's right. That's right. I think that's good advice.
All right. Until next week, we'll do our holiday special.
Yes, we will. Jeff, great talking today. I hope everybody enjoyed the show and takes away a few pearls of wisdom from Jeff and Debbie.
Bye.
See you guys later. Bye-bye.